Welcome to all of our attendees this morning, and we truly appreciate that you've taken out the time to hear these Toolbox talks based on various safety subjects. As always, we start our Toolbox talks off because of COVID with the tips to continually prevent not just COVID, but other occupational diseases. Washing your hands regularly with soap and water not only helps to prevent COVID-19, but also keeps us hygienically clean from some other areas where we might be exposed to biological or even chemical substances that could cause illness. Then if you don't have soap and good running water available, try and keep some alcohol-based hand sanitizer with you in order to keep your hands clean or sanitized. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth with unwashed hands. Adhere to social distancing measures where this is possible. Cover your cough or sneeze with a flexed elbow or tissue, and then also clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces. Now, if you can, also please make sure that you do your part to get vaccinated. So today's Toolbox talk, as we've mentioned in this past few weeks, we've been looking at the new OHS bill as well as the plumbers. Today we're looking at what is a Toolbox talk. Then we're also going to have, do you have a safety mindset? And then finally, we've got struck by. What are the dangers? Now, struck by, or the struck by incident and accidents that we are referring to here, are areas where plumbers are being hurt or injured by a struck by incident. Now, we're coming up with a definition for this. We are chatting to FEM on Thursday. And then next week, we will tell you what that definition is. And then we need your assistance. In fact, we need your assistance with any incident or accident that actually occurs. Now, last week, we did receive some information on a plumber who was injured because they climbed up and they were removing a roof sheet. And the roof sheet, because it's very sharp, it actually cut the underarm of the plumber that was working there, causing a slice or a gash in their arm. And so we can now understand and work with this type of incident to explain to the other plumbers that if you are removing roof sheets, working near roof sheets, obviously we need to be careful of those sharp edges, and perhaps even do inspections before we go to site to remove a roof sheet in order to make sure that it is safe for our employees or safe for yourself while performing that task. So that is really the reason why we need your assistance. If you do have any injuries, incidents, or accidents that occur on site, please let us know. We are putting these into profiles with FEM in order to get some statistics so that we can see exactly what is harming our plumbers on a day-to-day basis. Now, the reason for that, or the goal behind that, is to try and prevent these from happening by finding various solutions. Either we're going to do a Toolbox talk on it and bring you awareness of what you should do in order not to get injured, or perhaps we're going to design a safe working procedure, a safe operating procedure, or a method statement to assist you in doing the task perhaps in a different manner in order to prevent that injury from occurring. And then finally, we'll also be looking to see if there's some sort of personal protective equipment or some safe item that can be purchased in order to protect you from this incident. So as always, we're trying to look for areas where our plumbers are being injured, but we need that information from you. Now, how do you get in touch with us? safety@opsa.org. You may email me what happened. You can also use the info@ohss.co.za, or you can use the WhatsApp line on 071-875-2070. We also have a link. It's a special link that, yes, we are going to ask you if you want to put your name there, but it's not required. So you don't have to put your name down. We're just going to ask you information about what happened on the incident. And it's a little link that you get from us that you click on the link and then just fill in the forms or the questions to tell us what actually happened on site with that incident. Then that information comes through to us so that we can evaluate why it happened and see if we can find that solution to stop it from happening. So please, if you have any of these things happening to you, or if it's even happened in the past, any information, as much information as possible about that incident, how it occurred, why it occurred, will definitely assist us in helping you later on to prevent the reoccurrence of these incidents and accidents. So today we're looking at what is a Toolbox talk. Thinking of our safety thought, your number one safety device is your brain. So use it. Don't forget to take it to site with you. A Toolbox talk is a short safety discussion. Now, I know these Toolbox talks are not short, and sometimes we do tend to go over time because we don't have enough time to discuss a specific topic. But generally speaking, it's a short safety briefing. And this allows the workforce to engage in the learning of risks and hazards or the dangers that they're going to face on site. But it must be associated with one particular topic. And that's why we've had weekly Toolbox talks on a specific topic. Now, we mention other topics in it to say that it, by extension, can assist you with COVID-19, as we showed you earlier, or other occupational illnesses. That's why we have our tips in the beginning. Then we discuss one specific topic, like today, what is a Toolbox talk? And then we encourage you to discuss other things with us, like incidents and accidents. So these Toolbox talks are really awareness or understanding talks. It's to help the employee or yourself, even as the employer or someone who's not performing the task, understand the need for safety at each point of any particular task or any particular topic. This could be at the start of a project, during the project, or even at the end of a task. This will help us to understand not just the need for safety, but the need for the correct type of safety. You see, in some areas, you might just have a Toolbox talk. In some areas, you will need a DSTI before you start working. Then during the actual task or during the project, you may have to adhere to the risk assessment, a fall protection plan, and maybe even more is needed. Perhaps you even need to have a planned task observation, a continual form of risk management on site. Then at the end, you may need to sign off the DSTI. You may need to clear the way. You may need to even remove some sort of barrier from where the risk originally was. Now, really, it's designed, again, as we've mentioned, to help you, as well as your workforce, understand the dangers that they are facing and how to stop those dangers from hurting them. But a question that you as plumbers have asked in the past is, can you do your own Toolbox talk? And the answer resoundingly is yes. Any person or any company can actually do their own Toolbox talk. In fact, employers are encouraged to hold Toolbox talks as regularly as timing allows. Because remember, you are the expert in your field. You understand how the plumbing must be installed, moved, removed, or even replaced. And because you understand those tasks, you understand how the task should be done according to standard. So it's always encouraged that you use this knowledge as the basis of your Toolbox talk sessions. Because generally speaking, as a plumber, you are working in accordance with a certain standard or code. Yes, you might not be a safety expert, and you might not always understand the safety-related aspects around the actual task, but generally speaking, you know the dangers of perhaps working in a sewer. You know the dangers of climbing a ladder. So to a degree, and with some common sense, you will know what is going to affect your life or health in a particular situation. You don't have to know the exact details of the risk assessment when doing a Toolbox talk. You just need to know a specific topic, how the person can be injured, and how to protect themselves from that. But by extension, you're also saying not only are you protecting yourself, you are also performing the installation in accordance with your SAN standard, so that COCs can be passed or guarantees can be issued because of the quality as well as the installation according to code. So because you're already performing those checks and inspections, the add-on for safety should be able to be pretty simple to just plug that into your Toolbox talk. So because it's designed around a specific topic, you might ask yourself, well, how often then do I have to do a Toolbox talk? Because when I'm installing a geyser, for instance, it might be a one-day job. Perhaps the task that I'm performing of replacing a sewer pipe is going to take an entire week. So how often then must I actually perform the Toolbox talk? Well, it's normally determined by the industry. Within the construction industry, there is the requirement for Toolbox talks to be held every single week. Now, every contractor has to hold their own Toolbox talks based on their area or scope of work. So for a plumber, that would be plumbing risks and hazards. It would even include things like working at heights, working on a ladder, working on a scaffold, climbing on a roof, which could be similar to a roofing contractor who is installing sheeting for a building. They would also include working at heights, working on a roof. But there are other aspects to their tasks, like the types of tools that they use, which might not be used by a plumber. And that's why we don't have a blanket set of Toolbox talks. We have templates where we encourage you to look at the templates and select only the topics that affect you, so that you're not talking about things that perhaps don't affect you as a plumber. For instance, many plumbers are plumbers and electricians. So you would have perhaps two sets of Toolbox talks. So for a plumber who is not an electrician, you might look at things such as hazardous biological chemicals, biological agents, working in sewers, working with piping, working with hand tools, working with portable electrical tools, working at heights, working with ladders, and then specific things. Perhaps the chemical that you use, perhaps even the specific type of plumbing, welding, soldering that you are using. But as an electrician, you want to maybe focus more on the electrical hazards, perhaps working with electricity, lockouts and tagouts. Now, because we have all of those templates available, we wouldn't want you as a plumber to start off your day or week with a Toolbox talk on lockout, tagout if you are not involved in electrical work. So it's very important then, not only how often you must do the Toolbox talk, but what is your Toolbox talk going to be about? Now, for those in the mining industry, you have to do a Toolbox talk every single day. Within the corporate environment, those outside of construction or mining, these are generally held monthly, bi-monthly, and even annually in some cases. They are not often called Toolbox talks. Most of the time, they are called safety briefings, safety days, or safety awareness sessions, which technically is the same as a Toolbox talk, because we are working within the tools that we are using, and we are discussing the safety aspects around what we are using and the tasks that we are performing. But what if you have to take over your own Toolbox talks? For instance, with us at IOPSA, we are designing these Toolbox talks on a weekly basis for you. But what if it falls outside of your scope? Maybe what we are discussing this week doesn't actually affect you. Or maybe it affects you to a degree within your business, but not in the task you're performing for the week. Well, then you are encouraged to compile your own Toolbox talk. Now, as we mentioned earlier, you are the expert in your field. You know and understand how things must be done to ensure that your installation or your task is done to work effectively and according to the standard. So, what must you do? The first thing you need to do is understand how the task affects the employee or employees around them, or even any person other than the employee who might be affected by what is done. And then help to understand what are the dangers. So what could I be hurt by? What could harm me? These are the hazards of the actual task. And then how can you avoid being injured? You see, if it means just putting on gloves so that I'm not touching a sharp object and I'm using the glove to separate me from that sharp object, then that's what we would discuss. But it could even go further than that. It could even go to the point where if you are welding or soldering, you need to remove the persons away from the area that are not involved in the welding task. So other persons who are not welding need to be removed from that area so that the person who's doing the welding can finish the task, and then the rest of the employees can come back again. Because you know and understand the task that is being performed, you know the dangers, and you know how a person can be injured. The Toolbox talk should be designed around what can hurt me and how can I protect myself. That is really the essence of a Toolbox talk. But you might be asking, well, how long should these Toolbox talks be? Well, again, it is also determined on the industry and how often you are actually doing these Toolbox talks. Because remember, we are doing a weekly Toolbox talk. So we should limit them to about 30 minutes or so. You've got work to do and you need to get on with your day. A toolbox talk can also be done at different times and should be prepared to suit the environment that you are actually in. So if you're doing a daily toolbox talk and not a weekly one, you may want to limit it to maybe just 5 to 15 minutes on a specific topic, perhaps 7 or 10 minutes on a specific day, depending on the topic that you're discussing, the severity of risk, the danger being faced. But also imagine doing a toolbox talk for half an hour every single day. That is too much because now you are losing your audience. So what you want to do is get to the point, make it specific, and keep it brief. So a daily toolbox talk might even just be a 5-minute toolbox talk. We would want to limit it to not going over 15 minutes. As we mentioned, the weekly toolbox talks, we would want to do between 15 to 30 minutes. And we would never really want to exceed the 30-minute mark. So with these toolbox talks, because we want to speak to our plumbers on a different platform and on a different level and about a few different topics, not just about the specific topic for the week, but about what our ops is perhaps doing for you on COVID-19 and perhaps asking for your assistance in other ways, we still try and limit the entire process to 30 minutes. If it's a monthly toolbox talk, perhaps in a corporate setting, 30 minutes should also be sufficient. Now, why is 30 minutes in a corporate setting for a monthly toolbox talk same as 30 minutes for a weekly toolbox talk in construction? Well, that is because of the rate of incidents, accidents that actually occur, and also the degree and nature of risk that might be experienced. Because it is more risky to be on a construction site, 30 minutes a week is sufficient. Because it is less risk within a corporate environment, an office environment, 30 minutes a month is also sufficient. Again, we need to try and find out what is our objective. We have a specific task or a specific topic that needs to be discussed, and we want to get that topic or safety briefing across to the employees in a manner that they understand what the dangers are and how to protect themselves. Now, in some corporate environments, they only do annual safety talks. In these instances, these annual safety days are whole days, and they are centered around the focus of safety within the company. Now, you can do this as a plumber because you are not doing a site toolbox talk, but you are doing it perhaps at your offices where you don't perform plumbing. You only have stacking and storage, which is where you keep perhaps your plumbing installations, your equipment, or even your hand tools and power tools. And a lot of more office work gets done at your offices. And so you could view that as your corporate environment. And when you go out to site, as your construction or installation environment. So you would perhaps still have a safety day or a safety focus day once a year. Now, these start off with a safety briefing, and then throughout the day, focusing on various aspects of the whole safety policy of a company. And you can turn this into games. You can turn this into upliftment, to building. You can even turn it into what many companies do as a retreat. They take all the employees away for the entire day and they go and do perhaps a run. They do an obstacle course. Maybe they just go out for a swim and a bra, and they discuss in a general setting the health and safety policy of a company. However you do it is 100% up to you. But what is the objective? The objective of a toolbox talk, whether it's done daily, weekly, monthly, or even annually, is to get the employees to understand what are my dangers, what am I exposed to, and how can I protect myself from being injured. Vitally important is that a toolbox talk does not replace actual training. Toolbox talks are a form of education and instruction, and that forms part of the duties of an employer in terms of Section 8 of the OSH Act. But it does not replace a complete hazard identification and risk assessment. It doesn't replace safe working procedures. It doesn't replace DSTRs, and it doesn't replace regulation-specific training such as firefighting. The topics we discuss might be part of hazard identification and risk assessment. It might be within a specific safe working procedure. It might be a topic of the DSTI, or even on how to be fire prevention or fire savvy when on site. But it doesn't replace those actual physical documents that are part of our management system. A toolbox talk is a supportive form of training, a supportive form of safety documentation that is implemented to help employees know and understand the entire safety management system that is backing the company to continually be safe. So how do you get started? Well, IOPSA has developed a set of standard toolbox talk templates, and this is basically around different aspects of plumbing. We look at things like back care, knee care. Then we look at how to use a grinder or a power tool, how to use hand tools, how to climb ladders, how to work on scaffolding. And all of these toolbox talks are designed as very simple 5 to 15 minute toolbox talk settings. In fact, you can embellish the toolbox talk more depending on who you get to actually present the toolbox talks. Generally, we ask you to use somebody within authority to do the toolbox talk, such as your manager or supervisor, since employees listen to a supervisor because of the authority that they're given. But if you have a very good working relationship with employees, which is what we encourage, in fact, we want you to have a behavior-based safety program where all employees feel encouraged, not just by a supervisor or manager, but by each other. And if you have this type of behavior-based safety training within the company, we encourage you to ask that each employee over a day, a week, or a month, each performs a toolbox talk of a topic that they have decided to choose for that week. Please ensure that it's in line with a specific task as well as the risk and hazards that you are facing. And let each employee then do their own toolbox talk at regular intervals. That will engage them and also assist them to do their own training, their own structured toolbox talk, but also their own research in understanding what the risks and hazards are. That will then include involvement from your employees so that the structure of training is not just from CEO to lower level, but lower level to CEO as well. And those open lines of communication will go a long way in ensuring the entire team works together. So there are templates for toolbox talks. A template is just a blank form with no information, with just a guide to explain to you how to design a toolbox talk. Would you like to start doing your own toolbox talks? Do you have access to the toolbox talk templates from our OPSA? If not, get in touch today, please. And we want your feedback on the information that we are giving you. So safety@ouropsa.org is the email. You can send us an email. We will send you those templates. They're in Word document, and then you can use that to change or and we give you the approval, please, on that email that you can change it. We do know on some of the documents at the bottom, it says do not reproduce or change it due to OHSS Consulting's requirements. But at OHSS Consulting, we ask you to change it, but not changing the legislation. So the reason for us saying don't change it is because sometimes people will change the wording and then it doesn't suit what the regulations ask. So instead of changing the regulation, we ask you just to add your own information. So the changes would not be to remove information, but to add your own personal information. And that's what we encourage you to do. Then coming up for our members in 2023 as a reminder, we please 100% need your feedback. Not just that we want it, we need it. And we're going to be doing site visits. We're going to come to our members' offices. And if you want a site visit done, perhaps on your office or on your site, or even an approved IOPSA training center, if you're listening in, please get in touch with us. We want to hear from you. We want you to tell us what you want, because we can't get to all of our members, but we are going to try and get to many of you, especially on site or at your offices, to come and discuss health and safety with you as well as your employees. Then monthly, we are moving over to a monthly hot topic, which is going to be recorded and placed on the LMS system as well as the YouTube channel. And you can watch this at your own convenience whenever you want to. You don't have to sign in and come and listen to a 30-minute toolbox talk anymore. And then plumbers evenings. We are going to do a national plumbers evening visit. So we've started off in Benoni in Johannesburg. We're going to be doing Pretoria in the next few weeks, and then we are going to be moving down. We'll eventually see you in KZN, Cape Town, Bloemfontein, and a few others that we have structured our annual calendar to get to. So again, we do want to get to you as plumbers. Then very importantly, as we are working closely with FEM because of the zero is no accident safety slogan, the incident reporting, we are asking you to report any incident or accident. But our focus for this year is looking at struck by incidents and accidents. So if you do get a struck by incident or accident, which will tell you what the definition of struck by incident or accident is in the next coming weeks, in the definition from FEM, just get in touch with us and tell us what is happening. In fact, we're saying your focus should be telling us about any incident. Our focus is going to be looking at struck by and then all incidents within the statistics for plumbing and coming up with solutions for you. So thanks very much for joining us this morning. Again, we've got our last Toolbox Talks coming up for February is do you have a safety mindset on the 21st? And finally, we have struck by. What are the dangers? Because by then we'll have our definitions and we'll be able to give you feedback from FEM about what we are achieving within the next year in terms of struck by and how can we assist you as a plumber. Remember, your number one safety device is your brain. So thanks again. To get in touch with us, safety@iopsa.org, info@ohss.co.za, or on that WhatsApp line 0718752070.